Rohita was 25 years old and lived in a bustling city full of life, energy, and endless opportunities. From the outside, she appeared to have everything: a stable job, good friends, and a supportive family. But deep inside, Rohita was struggling with something that many people deal with: the fear of failure. Every day, as Rohita sat at her desk, the same thoughts ran through her mind. What if I don't succeed? What if I make a mistake? What will people think of me if I fail? These thoughts played over and over, preventing her from taking risks or trying anything new. She felt trapped, stuck in a cycle of self-doubt and hesitation. Rohita had always been a careful and thoughtful person, but as time went on, her fear of failure began to limit her life. She avoided new challenges at work, hesitated to pursue her passions, and always chose the safe path, even if it didn't bring her happiness. Her heart longed to do something meaningful, but her mind constantly reminded her of the potential for failure. One evening, after a particularly stressful day at work, Rohita found herself wandering through a quiet park. As she sat on a bench, lost in her thoughts, she noticed an elderly monk sitting nearby. The monk's peaceful demeanor stood out against the busy backdrop of the city. Feeling a sudden urge to talk, Rohita approached the monk. "Excuse me, Bhante," she said softly. "Can I ask you something?" The monk looked up and smiled warmly. "Of course, my child. What troubles you?" Rohita sat beside the monk and hesitated for a moment before speaking. "I am afraid," she admitted. "I'm 25 years old, but I feel like I haven't accomplished anything meaningful because I'm too scared to try. I always worry about failing, and it stops me from doing what I really want to do." The monk listened quietly, nodding as Rohita spoke. After a pause, the monk said, "Fear of failure is a common challenge, but it's also something you can overcome. Let me share with you a story, one that may help you see things differently." The story of the young warrior. There was once a young warrior named Sudha. He had trained for many years to become the best fighter in his village. He was strong, skilled, and respected by all. But despite his abilities, Sudha had one weakness. He was terrified of losing in battle. The fear of failure haunted him, and it kept him from competing in important tournaments or challenging stronger opponents. One day, Sudha decided to visit a wise teacher who lived in a temple on a distant hill. The teacher was known for helping people overcome their fears and find their inner strength. Determined to find a solution, Sudha climbed the steep hill and reached the temple by nightfall. The next morning, Sudha met the wise teacher and explained his problem. "I have the skills to succeed," Sudha said, "but I'm too afraid of losing. What if I fail and disappoint everyone? How can I get rid of this fear?" The teacher smiled gently and said, "Sudha, the fear of failure is like a shadow that follows you wherever you go. But the shadow exists only because you allow it to. Let me show you something." The teacher led Sudha to a small stream that flowed nearby. The water was clear and calm, reflecting the sky above. The teacher picked up a stone and dropped it into the water. Immediately, ripples spread across the surface, distorting the reflection. "What do you see?" the teacher asked. "I see the ripples," Sudha replied. The teacher nodded. "The ripples are like your fear. They disturb your peace and make everything seem uncertain. But look closely. What happens when you stop focusing on the ripples?" Sudha watched as the water gradually calmed down and the reflection became clear again. The ripples disappeared, and the surface of the stream returned to its natural, peaceful state. "You see," the teacher said, "the fear of failure is like those ripples. It disturbs your mind and makes you doubt yourself. But the more you focus on it, the longer it lasts. If you shift your attention away from the fear and focus on the present moment, the fear will pass and your mind will become calm again." Sudha thought deeply about the teacher's words. "But how can I stop focusing on my fear?" he asked. "By understanding that failure is not the enemy," the teacher replied. Failure is simply part of the journey. It teaches you, shapes you, and helps you grow stronger. Instead of fearing failure, welcome it as a friend. Every time you face a challenge, whether you succeed or fail, you are learning and becoming wiser. The real failure is in never trying. The monk paused and looked at Rohita. Like Sudha, you must learn to see failure differently. It's not something to be feared, it's something to be embraced. Every time you try, you are moving closer to your goal, even if you stumble along the way. Rohita listened carefully, feeling the weight of the monk's words sink in. But how do I change the way I think? She asked. It's hard to let go of the fear when it feels so strong. The monk smiled and said, Let me share another story with you, a teaching from Gautama Buddha himself. The story of the bamboo tree. A long time ago, a student came to Gautama Buddha, feeling frustrated with his progress in life. He said, Master, I've been working hard, but it feels like I'm not growing. I'm afraid I will never succeed. No matter how much I try, my efforts seem to go unnoticed, and I fear that I will fail. Buddha listened patiently, and then told the student to plant a bamboo seed in the ground. Water it every day, Buddha instructed, and be patient. The student did as Buddha asked. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and still, the bamboo seed showed no signs of growth. The student grew impatient and began to doubt himself. Finally, after many months of caring for the bamboo, the student returned to Buddha and said, Master, nothing is happening. I've watered the bamboo every day, but it still hasn't grown. I feel like a failure. Buddha smiled and said, Do not be discouraged. The bamboo is growing, but it is growing underground. During this time, it is developing strong roots that will support its growth. Soon, it will shoot up quickly, and you will see the results of your patience. Sure enough, just a few weeks later, the bamboo suddenly grew tall and strong, reaching for the sky in a matter of days. The student realized that all his efforts had not been in vain. The bamboo had been preparing itself quietly, and now it was ready to flourish. The monk turned to Rohita and said, Like the bamboo, growth takes time, and success is often hidden from view. Just because you can't see progress doesn't mean it isn't happening. Failure and setbacks are part of the process of building strong roots. Don't be afraid of them. Learn from them, and trust that you are growing stronger with every step. Rohita felt a deep sense of relief as the monk's words resonated within her. She realized that her fear of failure had been holding her back from truly living her life. She had been so focused on avoiding mistakes that she had forgotten to appreciate the journey. The path forward. As Rohita stood up to leave, the monk offered her one final piece of advice. Fear will always be there, lurking in the corners of your mind, he said. But it only has power over you if you give it your attention. Focus on the present, embrace the lessons that failure brings, and trust in the process. With patience and courage, you will overcome your fear and find success in ways you never imagined. Rohita thanked the monk and walked away, feeling lighter than she had in years. The fear of failure no longer seemed like an insurmountable obstacle. Instead, it was simply part of the journey, an opportunity to learn, grow, and eventually succeed. Moral of the story. The story of Rohita and the monk teaches us that the fear of failure is something we create in our minds. We often spend too much time worrying about what could go wrong rather than focusing on what we can do right now. Just like the bamboo that grows its roots quietly underground, our efforts may take time to show results, but that doesn't mean we're not growing. Gautama Buddha taught that failure is not the end. It is part of the process of learning and growing. Embrace failure as a teacher and understand that every step, whether forward or backward, is part of the journey toward success. By letting go of the fear of failure and focusing on the present moment, we open ourselves up to new possibilities and growth. If you found this story inspiring and believe in the power of overcoming the fear of failure, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Let us know in the comments how you plan to face your fears and take steps toward your dreams. Your support helps us continue sharing valuable lessons like this one.